What is up, guys? Euclid back here with you again, joined by Vin and Josh, and I just want to say, first of all, that we really appreciate the support and really the turnout that we had for our last video covering the Xbox Showcase, and as well as our first short. They did really well, and it was, I wouldn't say by accident, but definitely relevant with the recent announcement of Gears for Gears E-Day. That we're really excited about that. And for those of you that did not see our reaction for that,
Ben?
Okay.
This could be
It's red.
This is red. It's red, Ben.
I really hope it is.
It's Gears.
Let's go.
Yeah.
It is.
Lucas.
It's
Hell yes.
dude. It's young.
Whoa, dude. Is that
It's Dom. It's Dom.
Mad World is
Yes.
playing?
Yeah. Have a reason to wake up. Yes.
Dude,
my
holy
God.
shit. Oh my god.
We're actually getting it, Ben. E-Day. It's a new
Yes.
game.
Oh shit. I love the Gary Jules callback. That was nice.
What?
Okay.
No, we had a lot of fun with it. Definitely a lot of emotion soaring with that trailer. I know that Vin had really been kind of the one to orchestrate this together as our biggest Gears fan. I think I can say that safely. And we had a really good time with it. And, you know, obviously it should be playing in the background now, but as a reference to, it was a nice callback to the 360 days for Gears of War. And, you know, you can touch on that if you would like to, Vin. I don't want to hog the road because this is, Gears to you is probably close to like your Stalker in a way.
Definitely, yeah. I loved, like, hearing Mad World in that trailer, and I didn't put the dots together that it was Mad World until you called out and said that this was Mad World, and the excitement that went through all of us was palpable. What a lovely, way to call back to the series roots, and what a, well-made, well-choreographed, well-shot trailer. It was an in-engine trailer done by Blur, but it was all done in Unreal Engine 5 with in-game assets, and that's genuinely unbelievable to me, and really a testament to, the art direction for this, and just the general, aesthetic theming being so well made. But all of us, as soon as we knew it was Mad World, despite varying levels of Gears fandomness, we were hooked. We were in. So yeah, I appreciated the opportunity for all of us to be there together and do that. So I think that feeling of excitement is definitely for all of us pretty high right now.
Oh yeah.
Do you have more that you want to say as well about your feelings on kind of the trailer and what you thought about the Mad World inclusion?
I'm really glad that, obviously, I have some catching up to do with the series, but I definitely would argue that I care enough about it to say that it had an emotional impact on me, not just because of the story that Gears is as an amazing single player, but also co-op game. I would just say that they're definitely paying homage to Gears in its earlier golden. I don't think Gears has ever really had a mundane stage up until these past few years where it felt like there's been quite a gap. It seems like it hasn't been long, but if I'm not mistaken, Gears 5 came out in 2019.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that, and it's probably going to make some of you watching cringe, because I know that that's quite the drought. That's a real drought. That's not like, oh, it's been 6 months and I have nothing to make a video on. That's a fake drought. It's a real distance. So this was a bigger deal for a lot of people. It made me emotional because there's a couple reasons. One, that song is very relevant, as it's one of the first songs that, I not that anybody has to know, but that song is relevant because it captures how the world essentially was changed forever. by E-Day within the Gears lore and the Gears canon. But it was a callback to that trailer as well. But it was subtle. There were no words. It was all piano strokes and keys. But it was, I just recognized it because it was my favorite Gears trailer. And around that time, for Gears 2, I was introduced to Gears long before we had met, by a friend of mine who, unfortunately showed me that scene that made just about everybody cry that had played through the Gears games. And spoiler alert for anybody, but this game is ancient now, so it's on you. But when they found Dom's wife, and that impacted me and made me care more about it, and I ended up playing through the first game. Obviously, there were other games I had played instead of it at the time, and it was a series I'd rather wish I wouldn't have slept on, but better late than never. That time when the trailer had originally come out and the Gary Jules Mad World tribute was kind of brought back for the E-Day trailer, that was kind of for me, it felt like a golden era of games because I had a lot more free time. I was still in school. I still felt like I was mostly a kid. We all kind of have the rose-tinted glasses for those times, but the titles were that good, in my opinion. They still hold up. It was a very heavy time for shooters. It was a very heavy time for co-op games and split screen. No, they did a very good job, and I think they hoped that people would recognize what the trailer is trying to encompass, and it caught me immediately. I don't know if I got lucky, but as soon as I heard the piano keys, I'm like, oh my god. I feel like I'm in an elevator listening to Mad World.
It was this great, orchestral remix of it as well that kind of swelled when the tide of combat turned back to Marcus's favor, and I loved that. And at the end, when the E-Day logo drops, you hear some of, I think, the Gears main theme. I don't know if it's specifically the main theme or if it's one of the themes in the franchise, but it's definitely a familiar Gears note when that E-Day title card gets dropped, and I love that. I feel like music is a huge part of the experience for games, so the fact that they have put so much effort into making it capture that original feeling, to me, speaks volumes about the development. I think the whole situation speaks volumes about the development as well. The fact that they've pivoted away, for at least now, from the new trilogy, to kind of go back to the series' roots and focus on Marcus and Dom and their relationship, and kind of going back to those series themes of brotherhood. And I'm not somebody that particularly dislikes the newer Gears games. I actually think that 4 has a really strong kind of aesthetic, and the whole theme of it being one night is pretty cool. And I think 5 had some interesting ideas too, but I see where those games didn't resonate with traditional Gears fans, and for me, I'm never going to say no to more stories with Marcus and Dom. I think going back was the right call, for sure. I think we can all relate to that Gears theme of, brotherhood. That's something that's very near and dear to all of us, and it's in other franchises that we love, but I think that's what makes Gears so special, is just how deep that theme runs through the franchise.
Yeah.
And you could feel it in the trailer. So.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it definitely captured the emotion of what made the series so great in the first place. And what I don't think that Gears has done a poor job of keeping that. And even if it's just a lot of it being hearsay from what I hear from you and other people, obviously there's a relevance to Gears. Gears has got so much life and longevity left in it. They could tell so many stories. I mean, it's not nearly over. There is so much room. There's still, I think, arguably mystery in the story that could still be written up and created in a way that felt like it was meant to be added to the lore. I think it might have been... I think it was my favorite trailer this year, of all of them, just because of the sweet spot for it. Because, like I said, and even when I didn't really play Gears, that trailer stood out to me. Kind of like the original Division trailer stood out to me. Very emotional, very heavy, just a lot of themes of suffering. And we can talk about the setting, right? We have notes here, and we can talk about the setting, that it's supposed to be set in the city of Kelowna, right, Vin?
Yep.
It's a city from the lore that Marcus canonically fails to protect civilians in. And as we saw from the trailer, and thank you for making that note, as we saw in that trailer, there are headlights on the bridge, there are people screaming in the distance. So you are essentially going to be fighting this, not even Pyrrhic victory, it's going to be a loss. but like it essentially backs against the wall. This is the same reason that we were all such big fans of Halo Combat Evolved. Fighting a battle, you're losing, people are dying left and right, and it's this desperation attempt, but yet there's still this beautiful melancholy story woven into the story of Gears that we see, and it captured it perfectly. But just what gets me the most about it is that, you know, we could tell that it was the Emergence Day. We could tell it was because of the fear in a younger, more vigorous Marcus Phoenix's eyes. He was like, what the fuck is this? Like, how do I deal with this? What is going on? It's a man, but it's not a man. Like, the Locusts have just revealed themselves. There are these, oh, help me out here, my friend. The larger menacing units, the ones that look like spiders that are crawling all over the Colonian buildings and everything. Yes. And you can see them in the distance with the trailer kind of enveloping the entire area, and it's like, you can't defend everybody. At that point, you're going to pick a block of city. Let's actually go into like the actual placement of it. The soldiers of the COG have won the Pendulum Wars recently, where it's this united military organization, if I'm not mistaken, and the war is over. Humans are no longer at war with themselves, but not nearly enough time for them to regain their full strength and be ready for this kind of invasion. I mean, they weren't ready. It actually has a similarity with a very satirical series that I like, even though Gears is not satirical, and that's Starship Troopers. And what I mean by that is, you know, when they're defended and they're ready and they have fortifications prepared, which the soldiers of the COG know how to do this shit. But when they're digging holes behind your walls and in your walls and in the civilian, you basically have to choose what's more important to protect. It sounds cold, and it sounds calculated and really disingenuine to like human morals. But the soldiers of the COG essentially have to be like, we need to protect our most valuable assets, or we're going to go extinct. At that point, they basically had to fail to protect the people of this city, and you know that permanently scarred not only Marcus and Dom and their comrades, like the soul of these soldiers. Not only did it scar their inner being, but physically left a mark on their face. Like, Marcus had youth and had like hope in his face, and you could see it being extinguished in the E-Day trailer. I know that sounds a little theatrical of me to say, but I could see his hope dying in that trailer.
Well, and on top of that, the I forget when the lore happens, but the Hammer of Dawn strikes occur in the Gears universe pretty soon after E-Day because of that hopelessness. They're like, the only way we're getting anything out of this is if we just like full stop, scorched earth, like we're going to destroy everything. And that's something that in the lore takes people like Marcus very aback that they're willing to do that. So I'm confident that we'll see the Hammer of Dawn strikes in the game. We'll see that destruction. It's going to be a very like poignant, like somber moment. And you said it best when we were watching it, that like that hopelessness of seeing the city headlights and corpses just like rummaging through buildings and the locusts marching in the streets. That like this is a battle that can't be won, and that I feel like is such at the core of Gears, and might be something that the series has lost a little bit over time. I'm so jazzed to see those themes be like more prominently spotlighted. And I think an interesting way that they're doing that too, having it be in Unreal Engine 5, is they talked about using the engine to kind of have the city be ripped apart with emergence holes. And talking about the Mad World trailer, having the corpsers in there is a really nice callback to that too, since the only two enemies that they showed in that original trailer were the corpsers and drones. I mean, on the technical side of things, like, Josh, what do you think about the fact that, like, they're talking about using UE5 in this way? Like, how do you feel basically about the pivot to UE5?
I don't know much about the all the tech, but obviously they're seen other games that are using UE5 right now, and there's a lot of world applications that allow for some crazy stuff. So I can see them doing large scale destruction, like they're teasing. I don't know, like it'll be hard to say whether or not they actually mean like random or real set, like just specific set pieces that do that. But I think that like if they, depending on how much development time they are putting into it, or have put into it, they might be able to do less linear destruction. So especially if they're talking about it, I don't. If they're making a big deal about it, it would be kind of disappointing to for it to be more linear.
Yeah, I feel like it's a pretty big part of that trailer that the whole like ground underneath Marcus gives out, and then at the end you see emergence holes everywhere in the city. So they've got to be doing something with the UE5 tech that's like allowing that more kind of dynamic and interesting destruction. And especially Gears being a cover shooter, I'm really curious to see how that like destructible environments change the gameplay layout of story missions, because even though it's a linear experience, I'm sure they're going to want it to feel very diverse, each enemy encounter.
Yeah. The potential of...
I'd imagine...
Go ahead, Josh.
I'd imagine they want to push things as much as possible. If you just are if you're just going back and everything is very familiar, and there's not mechanics, and like even though it is a new Gears game going back to its roots, and that's exciting for people, it will still be kind of disappointing if it's just more of the same. So I think that there's going to be a lot more destruction. I do know that UE5 had their, I can't remember what the system was called, but it does have a new destruction system, which is pretty insane. Like, they showcased it with like a giant robot shooting a skyscraper apart. So yeah, it's with the Coalition, they've been working on UE5 for Gears 6 for a long time. So I imagine that they know what they're doing, and they probably have support from Epic as well. So it'll probably be very, very destruction heavy, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you consider they pivoted in 2021, so it's already been 3 years of working on this. I think that leads into another interesting point that I wanted to touch on with the game's release date. It's good the trailer's playing now, because they didn't end it with a concrete like release date at all. But people in the know, like at The Verge, have said that 2025 is the target release, which I think a less than a year from now would be pretty fascinating, would be awesome, and would line up with how the Coalition has done things in the past with both Gears 4 and 5, where they were announced a year before they released. I don't know if I see the Coalition announcing this 2 years out, but on the flip side of it, 2026 is the 20-year anniversary of the Gears franchise. So it's always possible that this game doesn't come out for another 2 years. So, which would make me very sad. So I might be dead by then. I don't know. Who knows? You never know what's going to happen.
Right. Well, this is relevant too, and I know that we had also made note of this. It being linear, not open world. There's nothing wrong with a linear experience either. You talk about UE5 and them being able to represent not only the emergence day, the emergence holes, the corpse, all these different enemies, but one thing that I think, for me personally, maybe you guys don't feel this way, let me know otherwise, I appreciate a game that shows a beautiful, arguably harmonious world, profitable world, a very golden age looking world, which is what what the world could have been once the Pendulum Wars had ended, and eventually we could have gotten to at least an okay point where everybody was living as good as they could have, right? And that was completely stripped away. So it would be cool to see a somewhat thriving city of Kelowna, and then the game just fucking tears it apart through E-Day. I hope that they are able to use UE5 to demonstrate that, And you say the trailer, I keep noticing new things in the E-Day trailer the more I watch it. I thought I saw a few headlights on the bridge. In the background, the part of the city that looks technologically newer than like the old Gothic part, there's a shitload of headlights. There's a shitload of people. Hundreds of thousands of people. Gone. Wiped out. The gravity of that is felt by real Gears fans like yourself, and it's kind of giving me goosebumps because not only, like you said before when we were doing the showcase, seeing a younger, more hopeful Dom and then Marcus as well, and you have this soft spot for these characters that you've seen hurt in the past and seen their loss, especially Dom, man. That hurt me. I cried. I don't care. You can't help it. But they did their job well. If they made you care about these characters, and watch right now. Watch as he stares in the distance and looks. These guys look like they were just about ready to get some R&R. Their faces look somewhat rested. And that rest is gone forever. At this point, the world has changed, and I think that going back to E-Day was the right move because it doesn't change the mystery. It doesn't change the scary wonder of what lurks in the dark, but it does. It's kind of like capitalizing on a game or something that could, for the sake of a lesser example, like let's say World War Z, not the book, but the movie/game, the day that it happened. Or I know not everybody likes The Walking Dead, but one thing that the newer Walking Dead series did well was it showed the outbreak. And the outbreak is like probably the greatest time emotionally and adrenaline wise that you could have a setting. You get to watch this world, this wonderful alternate version of a world similar to ours, and we get to essentially feel the character's loss. And then we get to see, while Marcus, which I'm not uncomfortable saying, arguably a couple of, very handsome looking individuals and war veterans, and then they don't look great at all the next games. Like, they look rough and sad and stripped of parts of their humanity, and that's war. But that's also specific to the wars that they're dealing with the Locusts. And there's just something romantic about this human struggle we're seeing on screen right now, about this enemy that was made to devour us, and us pulling together. I get that vibe from Warhammer too, although I like the cog more, morally. The Empire of Man in Warhammer scares the shit out of me, but no, the music is so heavy, and I can just feel the spirit of Gary Jules, like, oozing out of this trailer, and it's very, and of course they paid, dues to your... this trailer is more emotional than I thought it was the first time I saw it. So I keep seeing more things. You can touch on it more. The Lancer. Okay, let's go to the Lancer. Equipment. You made the note here. Lancer with the chainsaw is not around at this point. They have what was later called the Retro Lancer. So we're using actual fixed bayonets on their rifles. And so technology that was developed specifically to fight a losing war hasn't even been developed on the fly yet, if I'm not mistaken. You can carry on from that point.
Yeah, I mean, in the lore, the Lancer takes about a year to develop. I don't think that's still canon. I think that, like, Gears Judgment overwrote that, and there were, like, experimental ones out and about within weeks of E-Day. I'm sure this game is going to have the original Lancer in it. Because I don't really see this being just one day. I definitely see the story going on for weeks, if not months.
Yeah.
And I like the idea, especially, of seeing the cog in this, like, immediate post-Pendulum War state where their equipment looks different. But keeping with the spirit of the franchise rather than just coming up with new designs specifically for the sake of having new designs. The game's definitely going to iterate on it, but I like that they've kind of stayed true to the franchise's, like, look. I really think, not to hop on my soapbox, but this trailer has resonated with a lot of people who even people who aren't Gears fans, who think of it as a bro shooter, really appreciated this. I've seen the reactions, and I think a big lesson from this for developers and publishers is that there's a market for these games in their original form, like with the aesthetic and the themes that made them popular in the first place. Like, not everything needs to be Fortnite. This can just be a gritty, dark, pro story, and still be popular and still iterate and change and update with the times. It doesn't need to morph its identity into something deliberately to please a crowd. I appreciate that it looks and feels like Gears while going forward. It's asking new questions, but sticking true to the vision of the franchise. I wish that other franchises that I liked had gone in that direction. You know? Like, keeping a tight linear story, not making it open world just for the sake of having an open world game. And not just having an open world that's lifeless and dead, but they can actually design linear areas that feel lived in. Like, I appreciate that. And that's part of why I'm so excited about this, is because I can hope that this, if it does well, encourages other developers to be like, what made our games popular, let's hone in on that.
Right.
And let's take it back to its aesthetic roots.
Yeah,
So,
it
I'm
almost...
off my soapbox.
No, that's the... get on it all you want, because there's a big difference between being stuck in the early 2000s and 2010s and going, you know, we don't have to make our games so new that they're unrecognizable from where it started. This was emotional because it paid tribute to where things started. Look in the background. I mean, look at this structure. Look to the top right, these headlights you can see in the distance, and the smoke of a bustling, rebuilding civilization that didn't even have a chance to regrow. How the fuck did they fight back? I mean, it's... You ask yourself that. I don't know. It's going to be a really great story. We are at the 25-minute mark, so I suppose now we could kind of wrap it up, because we've covered, I would argue, pretty much everything. But I do appreciate you mentioning that from the Lancer and the Tech, and how they kind of changed that, so to speak. But yeah, they paid homage to it being after the Pendulum Wars. And how long before E-Day had the Pendulum Wars ended again, Ben? Roughly.
I don't think the victory lasted longer. Definitely not longer than a month. I don't think it lasted 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure the parade that was happening for D-Day, as they call it, was when the Locust attacked. And they did that deliberately, to my knowledge, because they knew they would get a huge swath of the population and catch them off guard. And in the lore, they wiped out 25% of humanity in the initial assault.
Oh
which
my
is a quarter of the population. It's crazy. And then the Hammer of Dawn strikes hit the rest, basically. That's why in Gears 1, there's like nobody left.
That's why the cities feel so dead.
Yeah. Wow. So, and I'm so excited to see them capture that again. But now you're kind of coming in while there are still people. While Ceres, the planet, still has a population, you know?
Yeah.
So that's going to be really crazy to see. And again, that's an identity thing, right? Like, I appreciate that you can't touch that without acknowledging how dark it is and showing some dark things.
Yeah.
I appreciate that they're not shying away from that.
Yeah, it's a big part of what really gives it its own. I mean, yeah, it's tragic and it's dark, but there's beauty in that, and there are moments in Gears that break your heart, and there are moments that warm that same heart, I would argue. And you know, there are these very likable characters, despite how, like, I can imagine if you weren't already friends with them, it would probably be rough to meet someone like Marcus Phoenix for the first time. But you'd kind of forgive him, considering all he'd been through. So, no, it's...
Dude, he's had a rough life. Like, I feel bad for the guy. So, no.
Yeah. Another thing about Gears that I have a lot of respect for is, like, look, we all love Halo, but as far as Gears is concerned, one of the biggest things that I like the most about, as far as the COG are concerned, you know, Marcus and Dom and a lot of the comrades that they fought alongside of in the games, they're not considered, like, superhuman. These are rugged, they are elite troops, but they're not enhanced by years and years, if I'm not mistaken, of science. They're just very well-trained individuals. Now, you can correct me on that, but I feel like that's a big reason why people appreciate Gears. You say bro shooter, I've heard the term before too, and it usually is used to describe games that I like.
There's nothing to correct. They're not super soldiers. These are regular guys, and I love, again, going back to that E-Day trailer, it's so fucking good. Marcus gets thrown around like a rag doll. He gets his shit rocked. He's thrown into like a light fixture. The drone gets the one up on him like 3 times in that trailer, and then when he's done, the whole floor caves in under him.
Right.
It's insane. He is just a regular guy. You shoot him, he bleeds. It's not a Master Chief situation where, despite being a vulnerable person underneath, this is a superhuman. These are normal people. Don't let their ultra masculine proportions fool you. So
they do. They're very proportionate, but the fact that it is its own kind of alternate Earth in a way, right? The fact that we're dealing with this very unique, separate from our situation planet. You're talking about a series that respectively has built its own canon to the point where, if I'm not mistaken, there are several books, 2 of which I'll be sending to you soon because I got those in a bundle with Metro books I found. So it's like the lore is respectable enough to expand itself beyond just the games and cinematics that we see. And just because it's on screen now, Marcus won that fight because he shot him. Physically, He was getting his ass kicked, like you said, and he was losing, but that's why you love Marcus. He's relatable, he's human, he is who we would hope we were strong enough to be in that situation. And arguably, probably I wouldn't be, and it's like, what would you do? And you would only hope that you had somebody like Dom and the other individuals that he fought alongside, and God, it gets me every time though. When Dom stares into the distance, like, these guys look pretty good compared to the first game, and it's like the first and second game, like, I'm like, God, what happened between then and now? But then you see it, and it's like the fall of civilization.
It's gonna be crazy. I mean, Dom loses his wife and kids in the immediate time span after this. I think Maria is gone for years by the point of Gears 1.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get to see all of that, and like, that's great from an enjoyment level. But also, God, I don't know if I want to see that. You love Dom and you love Marcus. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't deserve it. It's like, why did we why did especially the 3 of us, the games that we play, why do we insist on hurting? Okay, give me this character that I just fall in love with their personality. I'm gonna care about them, and like it really bothers me because like Marcus was trained to fight other people. This is really the wake-up call of, you thought you were done? You have no idea what this planet is or what lies underneath. You have no idea. And it's just, I imagine people probably had heart attacks on E-Day, that people probably were in shock and died because they didn't know what to do. They probably believed it was a dream or a nightmare. And we talked about it before, just to kind of cap it, because we're at 32 minutes. Just to see the loss and to experience the pain through their eyes it's going to be intense. I can't wait.
Yep. Oh yeah. Final thought from me on the matter, and then I'm going to shut up so that we don't go too far out here. Is that it is lovely to see a Microsoft Xbox flagship franchise be treated with respect, and to see how people react and joy seeing a franchise that I love from the Xbox side of things kind of come back into its own in a way that it felt like it used to be. There used to be excitement surrounding Gears and other franchises, and it feels really good to see Gears at least holding on to that, being like, no, you know what, we're still a flagship. We can still iterate and stay true to the themes that we had. So I'm happy, and I hope this comes out in 2025. I really do. If it doesn't, that's fine. But sooner rather than later, please. So.
Oh yeah, you really did capitalize. I think I can't even speak straight because it got me a little, kind of kicked me in the heart a little second when you said to see a flagship franchise be treated with respect, and anybody that's watched our videos in the past knows what games we're referencing, that we're not treated in the same way. And it's absolutely unacceptable if it happens. But I'm glad that Gears, thus far, is not suffering the same fate, and because it deserves to succeed. It's a labor of love, Gears is, and I want to see it grow. And obviously, as I decide, as I delve deeper into it, and hopefully get somewhere close to a level you are on for your love for it. So we'll see what time tells. But those are my final thoughts. You guys got anything else you want to say about it?
Sound off in the comments below if you think Euclid should play through the Gears franchise on his channel.
Yeah.
So, that would make me very happy if everyone said yes.
Yeah, let us know. If we do, it'd definitely be streams. Just FYI, guys. Work with me here. But I would definitely play through them. Absolutely. I would play through the Gears series. And it'll be interesting, for sure. But I think I would enjoy it. So, a lot of squad-based combat mechanics and stuff that's really, I'm going to probably appreciate. But that is it, guys. Leave your comments down below. Are you guys excited? I know I've already asked this question before with our showcase video that did so well, and thank you guys again for making that video amazing. Over 5,000 plus views. My God, you guys are awesome. We're an underdog team, and we're underdog. I'll say it, but we do punch above our weight. I couldn't have done it without these guys by my side. So really want to give a shout out to them as well. And you can expect more from us, so I think we're in a pretty good place to continue to cover game news in the future. So leave your comments down below. What are you excited for? Do you not like Gears? And tell me so I can tell you why you're wrong. On that note, we're out of here, and I hope you all have an excellent day, and we will see you in the next video. Bye now.